This is TWiT.
VeeCon. We were talking about this before the show began. Gary Vaynerchuk, who has been on this show, is a friend of the show. He started as an early podcaster with Wine Club TV, where he would make wine recommendations because his family owned a wine store.
I go to that store to this day. That's where I get my sins met.
What's it called? Vaynerchuk's?
Wine Library.
Wine Library. That's it. So Wine Library TV was his show, and then he somehow turned himself into some sort of marketing guru.
Everybody loved him because of the show, and he did a daily show, 40 minutes a day, doing wines, which of course everybody loved. And then they kind of came to him, and he ended up showing up at all these conferences, like, look at this guy who's doing this neat thing, who understands the internet.
Yeah, so that was kind of what it was. Yeah.
It passed into, if I know that, I must know everything on earth.
Yeah.
And people
he was very popular because he'd bring wine to the conference.
Yeah, that's true.
He would attend the conference with like several cases of wine and organised tastings for you. So that made him.
To his credit, he took his notoriety as a podcaster and he created an agency that does big stuff now, big advertising agency. He created a restaurant reservation app called Resy, sold that to American Express. So he's done quite well. And of late, he has become, I'm sad to say, like so many of my friends, he's fallen down the NFT rabbit hole.
Oh no.
I know.
Oh, big time. He is Alice in Wonderland of NFTs. Yeah.
His conference, 4 days in Minneapolis, was called VeeCon, VEECon. I mean, he's now he's VeeCon at the U.S. Bank Stadium. Our friend Shira Lazar was one of the moderators there. Kevin Rose, who has done very well selling NFTs. So it's really interesting. Kevin bought in early into the zombie series. These are just little cartoons you buy, and you kind of have some sort of weird digital ownership of this zombie. And he bought it early when it was one of the very first. I think it was the first NFT collection. He bought it early for $500. At last count, it was worth like $400,000. So then there was the Bored Apes Yacht Club. Similar idea. They hire. I feel bad for the artist because they hire some artist for hire, pay them a flat fee to draw 1,000 Bored Apes, and then they're worth millions. Kevin got together with Beeple, who's a well-known NFT artist, and a few other, and I think Gary was involved in this, created a group. They created owls, right? Cartoon owls. Kevin had to post a video on YouTube a couple of weeks ago saying, yeah, I know we made $50 million. Notice he mentions it in dollars, not Ethereum, not Bitcoin. $50 million, but we're going to do good things with it, I promise you. At this point,
the other thing that gets me, Leo, is they also say, like Gary says, we're going to have cartoons with this character. Like just thinking of the the funny snail character is sufficient.
Wait till you hear the Seth Green story. Wait, this is going to end with a great story.
This.
So at this conference, VeeCon, Minneapolis last weekend, to educate, I'm using from the racketminnesota.com, educate, evangelize, shill, and convert people into true believers of NFTs. Spike Lee, Pharrell Williams, Kevin Smith, Mila Kunis, Eva Longoria, Seth Green, Deepak Chopra, Stephen Aoki, DJ, Logan Paul, YouTube star, Liam Payne, don't know who he is, and Snoop Dogg. 6,000 token holders from around the world came to the 73,000-seat U.S. Bank Stadium. Tickets to the event, you had to buy a VeeFriends token, crypto token, which gets you into 3 years of VeeCons. The average token price...
If they're still around.
Average token price, 7.76 ETH, which is $1,490.
Is that now about $40 or?
Well, you never know. That's the problem. So let's talk about Seth Green as a poster child.
I realize I'm going to need to say something because the camera can't pick up me rolling my eyes.
Okay, yeah, just say rolling eyes, rolling eyes, rolling eyes. So Seth Green bought a Bored Ape. And now that he is the owner of the Bored Ape, decided that he would like to make a Bored Ape cartoon show. Developed the show. It was going to, I think, premiere on, where was it? Some big network in a few months until his Bored Ape got stolen. His forthcoming series, White Horse Tavern, incorporates characters from the actor's extensive NFT collection, but a phishing scam got him, and the scammer stole his Bored Ape, which means he lost his license to commercially adapt the monkey.
Though one actually could debate that as to whether or not owning the NFT was, in fact,
well, here's the fear, because it was then sold on to somebody else, Bored Ape 8398, purchased from the anonymous scammer by somebody called Darkwing84 for $200,000, then transferred it to a collection called GBE Vault, which happened like that. Green has located Darkwing84 on Twitter, but has failed to make contact, according to BuzzFeed. Here's the problem. If the cartoon goes ahead, Darkwing84 could sue Seth Green because technically he owns the copyright.
Well, but Counselor, is that the case or not?
Eye rolls all around.
Eye rolls. Like, there's so much going wrong here. 'Cause this is not how it works. And I know that, obviously NFT is a technology that didn't really exist, and there's questions of how does existing law apply to it. But a lot of people who have no particular expertise in how law normally worked are throwing it around and applying it in ways that I don't think it works.
You don't believe the Australian surgeon who goes by the name Mr. Cheese? You don't believe him?
Okay. I also didn't believe, so Seth Green had a tweet that for 18 years I've been studying copyright law and the business of law and entertainment. I'm like, oh boy. I mean, I can't throw stones at all, non-lawyers. Some people actually do develop very sophisticated understanding. I look to Mike Masnick as somebody who's not a lawyer but understands it really, really well. But one of the things you understand is it depends is fundamentally very often the correct answer. And if you think it actually comes out to very strongly one way or the other, that is kind of a sign that you might be wrong, because there's going to be a countervailing argument for any argument you want to make. I mean, but then again, some of them are just so specious that, they are garbage. But
okay, so I'm looking at the Bored Ape Yacht Club terms and conditions. I mean, I don't know how, it's legal. Is this legally binding? This is a contract under which you own your Bored Ape.
Does it give you a venue? Is there a choice
venue?
of law clause in that?
No, as far as I can tell.
I mean, you have a mess anyway. This is a law school exam because you've got some contract, which may or may not be binding. You've got copyright. You've got state law, which tends to apply to contracts. You have federal law that preempts stuff, which tends to apply to copyright. And these parts don't even, under the best days, interact with each other very well. And now all of a sudden you have an awful lot of people with some nefarious activity, possible theft, but theft in a way that we might not actually be able to describe as theft legally because it's ephemeral and not necessarily physical, and which jurisdictions' laws are going to be doing the describing. And the issue spotting is amusing. Me and my law friends could geek out on this and have some, lengthy conversations that are very interesting. But to pretend that there's any sort of clear path of how this would all get resolved, that's not clear, and that seems like a bad idea.
So Mr. Cheese,
tears will be shed.
The Mr. Cheese, the anonymous, Australian surgeon who owns the Bored Ape now. He's
Which
dark.
one? That particular Bored Ape? Or Bored Ape or all
the
Bored Ape?
That Bored Ape.
The Bored Ape.
It looks exactly like about four others.
Yeah, well,
which is the other challenge with making a cartoon out of it.
He says, I have no plans for the ape. I have no plans for the ape, Mr. Cheese added. As you can see, I've been collecting for a while. I bought it because I liked it. It wasn't a cheap buy either, and it was not marked as suspicious, so I bought it in good faith. I'm happy to be in contact with Seth to chat about this. He spent $200,000. I think it'd be fair to give him a reasonable profit on his purchase, although he has been ignoring Seth's Twitter appeals.
On treaties.
I mean, the concept of ownership is something that everyone's just sort of relying on when it's not even clear what source of law would even define ownership, whose source of law would define ownership, and what is the effect if somebody has purchased it who wasn't good faith, was good faith. Even in the United States, if you didn't know the thing was stolen, but you bought it anyway, you may not be criminally liable, but you might still have to give up the thing. But that's less true in some other countries. Like, it's not even clear whose law applies here, what law would apply here. I think this is basically just so lawless. This is just a very strange way to have some sort of really significant economic activity riding on, because most of the time economic activity is protected by just having some sort of rules of the road, and it is not entirely clear what rules of the road are guiding.
Yeah, every contract says where will you, if we come to sue each other, where in what jurisdiction will that be? And so on. The other thing that gets me about this is that, and I see there, I forget some time ago, somebody wrote a post about how this is the ownership economy, as if this is the where it all goes. I think it's the opposite. I think it's the last gasp of stupid copyright, of the metaphor of property for creativity. I think that's from Statute of Anne until today, and then I think it starts to die off into something else. I've written about credit right, about chains of creativity. There's a lot of ways we could talk about this, but this whole idea that everything gets owned, and what you own is this creativity as a thing rather than an act and a product, I think is outmoded. I don't think this is going to last.
Here is the Bored Ape in question.
Well, I can see why you want to fight over this.
Described as an ape in a skeleton T-shirt smoking a cigarette with a halo.
Well, that's not a cigarette, Leo.
It's a funny cigarette. Don't know. Background purple, clothes bone tee, eyes sad, fur brown, hat halo, bored unshaven. Here's the whole, because it's the blockchain, we know the entire, history of the purchases and so forth. We know who owns it currently, GBE Vault, which
reported for suspicious activity.
Yeah, well, so OpenSea then, if there is something like this, and this was not on it when he bought it, but OpenSea, once they heard about all this, has then disabled purchase and selling of it, and has this thing on it, which, as you know, now makes it all on the up and up. So anyway. Honestly,
it's hilarious.
It's hilarious. I feel bad.
This is a dumb way of doing creativity. It's a dumb way to do economics, and it's a dumb way of doing creativity. This doesn't vindicate. Like, this actually makes copyright look good, and I resent that.
Yeah. You got it, Cathy. You're right. Yeah.
This makes copyright look good. Here, though, again, thanks to the blockchain, we know exactly who owns it. We know exactly who transferred it. We know what they paid. All of this is public.
Well, we know what dumb name they use.
You see, Steve Aoki had it. He sold it to Seth Green. Seth Green then it was stolen from Seth. This is notice the red exclamation mark. This account may be compromised to CAAO90, who then sold it to Darkwing immediately, by the way, and Darkwing immediately transferred it into the GBE Vault. And that's where it sits.
That's Dr. Cheese?
That's Dr. Cheese. By the way, Chi is not like some new age CHI energy coming up your spine. It's cheese. It's fromage. It's a nice piece of Munster. So
I'll be disappointed if somebody doesn't write a book about this and call it the Apes of Wrath.
Apes of Wrath.
Oh.
So how much is 106 ETH? I guess it's $200,000 at some point. I guess at the point of sale. And then don't forget the gas fees, which also have to be added on. But look here, 41. Maybe you should have bought 41.75. I could buy it now for 150 ETH. You know what's sad is somebody drew this. They're getting no money for it. They got paid, $50 an ape or whatever, and that's that. It's just so stupid. So we have hit the.
I mean, there's Brian Fries, who has sort of looked into some of the artistic merits of this NFT thing, and he's written some very interesting defenses of how this might actually further artistic creativity and funding and sort of actually put copyright law to shame as it deserves regularly. And I can accept a lot of the arguments that he has, but that's not what's happening. That's not what's getting vindicated. This is a weird gold rush mentality, rent-seeking, pyramid schemes, grift. This isn't vindicating anything of value. And it's just neither an economic nor a legal construct that solves an existing problem. It just seems to create a whole bunch of new ones. So I'm never a fan of that.
No, my attitude is if you want to support artists, give them some money. You don't have to do this whole BS thing.